That dress is from a regular store, my sister-in-law said loud enough for everyone to hear. The ballroom sparkled beneath crystal chandeliers, every table dressed in white roses and golden candles. Soft music drifted through the air as guests laughed, posed for photos, and admired the luxury surrounding them. It was my husband Daniel's family reunion gala, an annual event where appearances seemed to matter more than people. I took a slow breath before stepping inside. I wasn't wearing a designer gown. I knew that. Instead, I wore a simple emerald green dress I had bought from a regular department store during an end-of-season sale. It fit perfectly after a few alterations I had sewn myself. Elegant, comfortable, and completely within our budget. Daniel squeezed my hand. You look incredible. You don't think it's too simple? I think anyone staring at labels instead of the woman wearing the dress has bigger problems. His smile settled my nerves. For a while, everything went smoothly. We greeted relatives, congratulated Daniel's cousin on receiving an industry award, and enjoyed the appetizers. Then she arrived. Vanessa, my sister-in-law, walked in wearing a glittering designer gown that probably cost more than our monthly mortgage payment. Every step she took seemed rehearsed, waiting for compliments that quickly came. Oh, Vanessa. Stunning. Who designed your dress? Absolutely gorgeous. She accepted every compliment like royalty greeting loyal subjects. Eventually, her eyes found me. She smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind that warned you a storm was coming. She approached with two of her closest friends trailing behind. Oh, Emily. Her gaze slowly traveled from my shoes to my earrings. What a practical choice. I forced a polite smile. Good evening, Vanessa. She reached out, touching the sleeve of my dress between two fingers. Then, loud enough for nearly everyone nearby to hear, she laughed. That dress is from a regular store. Conversations paused. Several guests turned toward us. Vanessa continued. I recognize it. They had racks full of them. Her friends giggled. I mean, she shrugged dramatically. I guess not everyone understands the dress code. A few awkward laughs escaped nearby. Heat rushed to my face. For years, Vanessa had found creative ways to remind everyone she married into money before I did. Designer handbags, luxury vacations, expensive jewelry. She believed price tags measured personal worth. Normally, I stayed quiet. Not because I couldn't answer. Because Daniel and I had agreed peace mattered more than winning arguments. Tonight, though, something changed. Maybe it was the months I'd spent rebuilding my confidence after leaving a toxic corporate job. Maybe it was realizing our daughter would someday watch how I handled humiliation. Maybe I was simply tired. I smiled. You're right. Vanessa blinked. I did buy it at a regular store. Silence. I love regular stores. Several guests exchanged curious looks. I also love paying my bills on time. A few people chuckled. And I especially enjoy buying clothes without wondering how many credit cards finance them. The laughter grew louder. Vanessa's smile stiffened. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I lifted my glass. I just think clothes should impress the person wearing them, not define them. Someone near the dessert table quietly clapped. Vanessa folded her arms. Well, quality matters. It does. I nodded. So does character. The room became noticeably quieter. Daniel stepped beside me, but didn't interrupt. He knew I had this. Vanessa laughed again, though it sounded forced. You probably wouldn't understand luxury. I almost felt sorry for her. You know what feels luxurious to me? She rolled her eyes. What? Sleeping peacefully. She frowned. Knowing my husband, and I don't owe anyone money. Another ripple of laughter spread across the room. Being able to donate to children's hospitals every month instead of buying handbags I'll use twice. Now even people across nearby tables were listening. Vanessa's friends stopped smiling. One elderly aunt whispered, Good answer. Vanessa wasn't finished. Oh, please. She crossed her arms. You couldn't afford this dress if you wanted to. No. I admitted calmly. I probably couldn't. Her grin returned. But I also didn't spend someone's annual salary trying to convince strangers I'm successful. The ballroom erupted. Not loud. Not cruel. Just genuine laughter that Vanessa clearly hadn't expected. Her face reddened. You think you're better than me? No. I think we're making different investments. She stared. My husband and I invested in our home, our daughter's education, our retirement, our community. I looked down at my dress. And yes, it came from a regular store. I've never been embarrassed by that. Across the room, Daniel's grandmother slowly stood. Everyone respected Eleanor. At 82 years old, she had quietly built the family's original business beside her late husband decades before wealth entered the picture. She walked toward us carrying her cane. The room fell silent. She stopped beside me. Then she surprised everyone. "Emily, may I see your dress?" I smiled. "Of course." She gently touched the fabric. "The stitching." She examined one sleeve. "You altered this yourself." "I did. It fits beautifully." "Thank you." Eleanor nodded thoughtfully before turning toward the crowd. "When Richard and I started our company," she began, "I owned exactly 3 dresses." Guests listened carefully. "I bought every one from ordinary stores." She smiled at Vanessa. "We couldn't afford luxury." Her voice softened. "But we could afford dignity." Nobody moved. "We built this family business by respecting money, not worshiping it." Vanessa looked down. Eleanor continued, "I have attended state dinners. I've met presidents. I've worn couture." She reached for my hand. "But the most elegant people I've ever met were kind. Not rich. Kind." The applause started from one table. Then another. Within seconds the ballroom echoed with clapping. I hadn't expected that. Neither had Vanessa. Eleanor leaned toward me. "Wear whatever lets you stand tall." Then she smiled mischievously. "Besides, I like green." The crowd laughed warmly. Vanessa quietly stepped backward. For the first time since I'd known her, she had nothing to say. Dinner resumed. People approached our table throughout the evening. Several women admitted they also bought affordable clothing. One confessed she'd stopped attending events because she feared being judged. Another thanked me for saying what she'd wanted to say for years. Near the end of the night, a young waitress approached while clearing plates. She hesitated. "I'm sorry to interrupt." "It's okay." She smiled shyly. "I heard everything." I felt embarrassed. "I hope it wasn't too dramatic." She shook her head. "I've been saving for nursing school." She looked at my dress. "I always feel small serving people wearing clothes I could never afford." She paused. "But tonight, I don't anymore." Her words hit harder than all the applause combined. After she walked away, Daniel wrapped his arm around my shoulders. "You know what everyone will remember tonight." I looked across the ballroom. Vanessa was scrolling through her phone alone while everyone else laughed together. "They'll remember your speech?" He smiled. "No. They'll remember how you made people feel." As we walked toward the exit, I glanced once more at the emerald dress that had nearly kept me home. It wasn't designer. It wasn't exclusive. It certainly wasn't expensive. But somehow, before the night was over, it had become the most valuable thing I wore. Because confidence isn't stitched into luxury labels. Respect isn't sold in boutiques. And true elegance has never depended on where a dress comes from. Only on the strength, kindness, and quiet dignity of the person wearing it.